Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live. And today we've got quite a hot ticket for you. Kicking it off, we are going to be discussing, really inquiring, how safe is it to fly anymore? Because it just feels like every other day is a tragedy. And we're seeing a trend that seems to be new within the field. So a lot to unpack there. And then the second topic of the day is going to be how the Mexican president is planning to take legal action against Google because, gosh darn it, they are supporting the legal action taken by the president of the United States, declaring the Gulf of America exactly that. And how dare they put that in their Google Maps? So Mexico has a lawsuit. And then finally, a theme that you'll see carried out throughout today's show is word games. Seems to be the only thing they can succeed at because logic isn't one of them. So we're going to be wrapping the episode up with a game that we like to call liberal or logical. So we're going to be putting the crew here to the test. But with that being said, let's get right into today's episode. All right. So in the Pickle Gallery, we got Silent Destroyer. I got Will joining me in the co-chair and Doug in the keys as always. But with today's first topic of the day, I keep getting ahead of myself. They did the same thing last week. Before we get in the first episode or first topic, I have some updates. You know, as things evolve, I like to keep the folks in the loop. So we had a recurring update for the hot rapper, Miss Dank DeMoss, and she has a lawsuit against Lyft for being denied a Lyft service because the driver had claimed she couldn't fit. She took offense to that because, gosh darn it, in Michigan, the only crazy state that declares obesity a protected class, and so she's taking legal action. We brought the update last week that she just standing her ground. She's doubling down and can't fit in regular chairs. The Breakfast Club had to get her a couch. Well, now, you know, we've got some real exhibits. She's trying not only to win in a courtroom, but she's also trying to convince you in the court of public opinion. So recently, this past week, her and her attorney, or actually, I think it's like her manager or her representative. He was on the Breakfast Club with trades at this point. Yeah, boy, he is really trying to sell you the snake oil. But for a public announcement, Exhibit A, they're giving us a tour because people are like, you know, we're seeing all these pictures of her like half out of a car. I don't believe she could fit in a car. And so she took offense to that. She wanted to prove to you she could fit in a sedan, because that's what she was denied access to on Lyft. To prove to you she could fit in a sedan, here's her wedging into an SUV.
Ride is ready.
See me last time I went to cop me a Durango thanks to Al.
As a woman, I am not a doctor. I cannot save you.
Does that look like a comfy fit?
Oh, not at all.
Watch her drive away.
Not at all.
Watch her drive away.
Oh, wait, what did she say here? Is there music? Of course there's music. Man.
The car's leaning.
The car's literally leaning.
Boy,
It's not
is
even
it.
a sedan. Like, that's the thing.
That's what and so, again, here's like a little bit of the clip. Let me give you some, like, let's pull it up here. I want you to see the vehicle she was being denied access to. So again, she gives us Exhibit A. So I now present to you Exhibit B. This is the vehicle she was trying to squeeze into. And to prove to you that she could, she wedges it in an SUV. And guess what? I feel like this was a necessary adaptation to update you on, because from the little sliver of the viral clip, here I am thinking, no, ma'am, you can't come in my car because it's some rusted tin can. Turns out that's not the case. Big rapper, big Benz, big videos. We only go big. She got the luxury lift. We went, what is it, like diamond class. This is an expensive lift.
Yeah.
Rolls up in a Mercedes. If this is my Mercedes,
Not a shot.
Not a shot you're getting in it.
Nope.
Shot.
Absolutely
Not
not.
a shot.
I love how her defense though is let me get an SUV, like a car that literally
Wouldn't you get the same exact car?
literally a car that could pull a boat is my
Yes.
A. You know,
Crazy.
like it's like an
Crazy.
SUV, like a sedan can't do that, but I'll get the SUV that could pull a boat to prove my point,
Yeah.
and
So-
then it leans.
Come on. How are these
And it
close
leans.
to the same?
Would she even be able to get into the driver's seat?
Oh, come on. No way.
No
Just
way.
saying, like I don't think she could.
No. She
Not
would
even
probably
trying to
only
be
get
honest.
into like
There
a
is. She's-
van or an F-150, not a sedan, not a SUV or a sedan. No
She's
way.
sitting there waving to the crowd like, yo, look how much room I got. Look at how much taller and like
She's
there's
not
so
even
much more
sitting
room.
straight. She's not even sitting straight. She's sitting sideways too. You can see when she closes
She's
the door,
laying
she's sitting
across the
sideways.
seat.
It's like the driver gets into the dashboard, like a light goes on for like the axle or something.
Bing, bing, bing.
He's just like, okay, let's just make it around the corner
I
real
just,
quick.
I just got to get it to the other side of the parking lot.
I just gotta get it out of frame.
And poof.
It's like it's not like able to fully turn.
And this is what we're comparing it to. All right, so again, I just want to keep the folks in the update. For the listeners that join us on a weekly basis, just streaming it. I apologize, you can't see it. I guess you got to go to YouTube.
One more thing before we get off of it. How long though do you think she's gonna keep this up to where people forget that this all started because of a lift thing?
I don't know. Ask Lizzo. I mean,
That's what I mean.
At
Like,
a
at
certain
some
point, if you sell yourself like this is your whole image, abandoning it also kind of diminishes the brand, what you're selling.
And like speaking of Lizzo, I saw a photo of her. She looks good. She looks like she lost quite a bit of weight, like healthy weight.
Yeah,
Like,
it's almost like we should socially hold her accountable for the bullshit she was selling our kids maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
You know.
I would argue that it's a social crime to sell out of your one side of the mouth to get album sales and platinum. Stay fat. This is my truth. While we knew this was inevitable. If you go back to the old podcast, this bad boy when it was at its beginning, the Washington D.C. episode, we were in D.C. when the pandemic hit, and I literally said, this chick is going to have to be wolfing down Big Macs because she's going to tour the country and inevitably exercising every night is probably more movement and action than you've had before that. And your diet is going to be different simply because you can't eat while you're singing. So you're going to inevitably lose weight, but then you're creating this brand and selling to the folks. This is my truth, baby cakes. And you're going to have to out-eat your exercise or sacrifice the brand's message.
And the thing is, too, it's like, if this is like her truth. I'm speaking strictly of Lizzo, like not at the Moss. I want you to keep doing your thing, baby girl. You're doing great. But for Lizzo, it's like, all right, your truth was you were a bigger girl, you were a performer. Couldn't your truth also be like, hey, I'm going to go on this journey to kind of lose weight, be a bit honest with even if the brand may not like it? How would there not be people in the brand that be like, you know what? Hey, good for you, girl.
And
We
you
all
would
go
inspire people to do the same.
We all go through changes in life, you know, like I don't see why that also can be part of the brand. Cause I think it's just weird. You know, I just think it's weird that like an individual like her could do something like that to literally be healthier for herself and like, just be like attacked. Like you're a traitor. And it's like, it's so odd. I don't
And
know.
here's the unfortunate part about creating your brand as it's unhealthy. It is dangerous. It is a deadly lifestyle. When you create your brand around this deadly lifestyle, it's sad that somebody like Lizzo, because that was her choice, we pull her into this dialogue where I'm going to say something even more criminal and offensive. That's the word game theme of today's episode. I'm going to say something even more criminal and offensive. How dare we bring Lizzo into this conversation when this chick is so damn huge? Lizzo,
Yeah.
I'd be offended. You're even a part of that. That's what you get for being the fat brand. Is when the next fat brand comes up, it's like when Coke was Coke, it was Coke. But then when Pepsi came along, it was Coke and Pepsi. So when another fat brand comes up, we're talking about you both. And Lizzo, dude, what is that appendage on the front? Come on now.
Yeah.
Call it-
It's called a front butt.
Oh my god.
But can we agree?
Yeah.
There's no butts that look like that either. That's doing whatever that is a service it doesn't deserve. What is this? Why do we have this conversation?
And that's the thing. Like, I give like kudos to Lizzo because it's like you see a growth as like a person over time. Like, sure, your brand could be like this when you start off, and like, hey, at the same time, like, sure, it can be empowering to bigger girls. That's fine, but like, you also can't be empowering on your journey to like lose weight, and then like they attack you for it. It just doesn't make sense. Where like in this situation with DeMoss, it's like you totally could see it being like, I guess like I wouldn't say victim culture of it, but kind of latched on. And like just taken in like such a like a negative connotation way. And like if you speak against it, like what we're doing right now, it's like I would love if we keep doing like these updates and like in a year or two, like she goes on like that weight loss journey. Be like, hey, good for you, girl. Right? Why not? You know, who am I to judge you for being big? And also, who am I to judge for you to make the decision to like lose weight? You know, it's your body, it's your truth. But if your truth is that I'm going to attack you for making fun of it or like making comments about it, it's like, okay. I don't care.
No, how about this? I'm driving here and I'm driving along a neighboring shopping center that's like a big long L shape. And it felt like I was being stopped every like, oh my God, I go like 5 more feet and another person has to cross. It's like, don't drive at a shopping center at like rush hour because it was just like crossing. And I just had to keep stopping. Well, then 2 large ass people come walking in front of me. They're the only 2 people I didn't. I was about, another. I went to go do that. No, they're walking to Planet Fitness. They're the only 2 people I'm cheering on the way to what they're doing. Yeah. The other, like, mom leaving the dollar store. Damn it. Yeah, Susie leaving TJ Maxx. Damn it. The 2 large people going to Planet Fitness. I applaud you, and you should be awarded. Yeah. So here's the dynamic we're dealing with. We're sitting here criticizing, and I kind of like the way you presented it, but I think it does us a disservice. You know, I'm not one to judge. I am one to judge. Like I am judging when you look like this, I am judging the cookie in your mouth just as much as I'm judging the suicidal person with a barrel in his mouth. To me, that's the same thing. We've created such a bubble safe culture. We're afraid to acknowledge you're killing yourself. Your heart is screaming for more people to say what I'm saying. Sorry. So as much as I'm not one to judge, this is a judgment. I'm not going to act upon that judgment. I'm not going to, act upon you differently. You're a person. But if we owe it to truth, we owe it to acknowledge in a society, this is not the way of life. And maybe her music is great and we should all get excited about that. But when the music is tied to the message of your girls can look like me, we shouldn't be surprised when parents and families feel the need to step in and go, no, this actually isn't a healthy way of living. So, and I think we would all agree with that, right? I mean, it's so evident just by looking at your existence. The sad part is when you surround yourself in an echo chamber with people, yes men, that want your success simply for their own prosperity, you don't get that. You don't get that reality check.
And especially like, for instance, I'm going to not pick on Lizzo, but I'm going to use her as the example because she's the most recent one where like she's changed her image in that way. I wonder like what thoughts were going through her head when she realized like, all right, I'm changing my brand by losing weight. And the yes men to go after her. Like I imagine there was some like probably mental strain on her, Like I hope she's tough enough to be like, screw what they think. I'm doing what's best for me.
Well, and I think that's a benefit. I think when you're huge and you have to, prove yourself for being huge, I think you naturally grow that muscle. Mm-hmm. Like, damn it, I'm going to be me no matter what. But it's much easier to say that to the people around us as like, it isn't easy being big and it isn't easy. Like, of course you want to change, but you've got an addiction. You've got these other issues that you have to overcome. It's easier to say F you to the society around you. It's harder to say that F you to the mechanism that made you a name in every household, right. The mechanism that makes you, be able to travel and buy houses without a second thought. Are you willing to give up that lifestyle for, whatever right. your truth is? Because here's if it was your voice, if you were Beyonce, large or small, it doesn't matter what, you will always have a label.
Or like Adele.
Sure,
Yeah,
exactly.
Adele.
But
Mhm.
if you have any inkling of doubt in your capabilities, you may succumb to that pressure because you don't have confidence. What do they call it? Intruder or it's
Intrusive
like
thoughts.
no, it's like a syndrome. It's like when famous people, imposter syndrome,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
where people like they have this type of position and it feels like I don't belong here, I don't deserve it, even though you put in the work or you do have the talent. It becomes so grand and so huge, and you're just a regular person living this like godlike life that it feels like you're an imposter, you don't belong, you kind of swindled everybody. If that's something you're suffering from, it would be so easy to succumb to the pressure of that
Right.
brand.
Yeah.
But again, at the same time, I look at Anthony, whatever his name is, like north of Richmond. Like that guy, doesn't matter what he looks like. He's going to do his thing if there's 2 people at his concert or 100 people at his concert. Yeah. If you're that guy, like all of this noise, judging if they are large, it's just noise. It has no impact on you. These people, it's like Lizzo, DeMoss, when it all comes crumbling down and when people get pissed at you for losing weight, which is the good thing, taking the barrel out of your mouth, that's actually the kind of pressure. Like, I'm sorry, you made that bed. Like, I know I'm not trying to be like a vindictive person. So listen, live and let live. I'm not going to be one to criticize you, but you created the environment around you. And when it brings about a backlash, like who did that to you but you?
No, I agree. I'm just trying to give some empathetic benefit of the doubt. But
no, I will give the empathy for again, Lizzo, I give you the empathy insofar as you worked for it. Yeah. And now this is an additional struggle for conquering the thing we'd be begging you to conquer. Mm-hmm. I would agree with you. And insofar as Miss DeMoss finally sees that and takes on the struggle of conquering her weight issues, I would cheer her on, and I would also defend her against the people being mean.
Right.
Again, back to the person cheering them on as they enter Planet Fitness. That's all I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not even asking you to come out looking like Anna Hall.
Literally, just take the small steps.
Yes.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
If you just moved, you'd lose a lot of weight.
Maybe don't take Lyft.
And here we are, shocked. Lyft can't lift you. All right.
The puns are
the updates continuing. Anijah Ahmed was this American woman.
Yeah, she's
taking over Pakistan, and where we left the story. And this is how the videos were being presented to us. It was being sold to the public that she made it to Dubai. She was supposed to be coming back to New York, but she hijacked it to Dubai, and she successfully, now on to the next leg of her adventure. Ironically, Will and I were speaking to a colleague, someone we met through work, that is in Pakistan. And of course, this is the first thing I have to ask him. I go, oh my God, my guy, what do you know of this lady and what's the story? And he goes, she's in a psych ward. And I'm like, there's no way. She's in a hospital. She is checked into a hospital. It's like a prison hospital. There's no way. Well, now I'm starting to get some news. And this one comes from Tay Erica on TikTok.
An update on our Queen Onijah, the American lady in Pakistan who everybody feared was missing. This woman by the name of Charlotte said that she was on a flight from Dubai to JFK Airport in New York last night when she saw Onijah being escorted off the flight by undercover cops posing as flight attendants. This is the only photo that Charlotte managed to take of her. And at one point, Charlotte says Onijah was on all fours as she walked with securities. According to Charlotte, their flight to New York was delayed by 30 minutes, and before they eventually took off, officials apologized for the delay and explained that they had to remove a passenger for security reasons. Before this recent sighting of Onija, we were all worried after we saw Onija threatening a man on the streets of Dubai.
A man. We did see that clip.
We did see it last week, yeah.
Now we're all waiting on pins and needles, waiting
is that
to hear
photo?
from Onija again. I don't care where she ends up. I just want her to be safe. I'm Tierica with the T. Follow for more.
Hashtag free Anijah.
No. Anijah will take her freedom. She
Oh.
is free.
She's in there
Always.
right now being like, shut this place down, get rid of the money, and free me.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest. You're gonna have to take your pill.
Wow.
I run the pills.
That's a good reference. I really hope. Oh my God, she probably got in there and immediately was like, what was that one movie? I'm going to do it just like that.
The Shining? No.
No. Same guy, different movie.
So I can't say we necessarily know exactly where she's at, but something's there.
Hey, if she's where she's supposed to be, it sounds like she doesn't know where she's at either. So, oh, hey, another edition. Where in the world is Anijah?
Where in the world is Anijah?
Only 3 editions. Pakistan, Dubai, hospital.
Hospital.
Short-lived series.
And it ended exactly where we thought it would. You know, I guess there is some
Why
logic
did
to
they
this
put her
universe.
in one over there? Why not over here?
I can't make sense of it. All right. And my last and final update we have before we truly get into today's episode. This one is a deep, deep grab bag, one from the archives of the Rethink Take that go far way back. Do you remember back in June when 2 astronauts, I don't know, were supposed to come home from space and they've just been lingering in space? We've all just kind of like, oh, yeah, it's almost like we're soon going to creep up on a year of like 2 people that are like, we'd like to get home. And they're like, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Oh, God.
Do you have Easter provisions? Like it's just snowballing. And the conspiracy theorists, why do they have Christmas hats? It's almost like they planned on being, it's like they're in the International Space Station. There's plenty of things up there like Christmas hats, and they've been stuck up there for like 8-9 months now.
They're going to have New Year's hats from like 2014 up there. Wearing them on New Year's.
They're going to be like skeletons. It's going to be like a scene from The Mummy in space where it's just they open the crack and it's just her with their big crazy hair spinning
With a party
with the
hat
Christmas
on.
hat on.
Right as she froze, she popped the confetti thing. Just like right next to her the whole time.
Happy New Year 2027.
What? Like, oh God, I couldn't imagine.
Well, okay, so let's get to the story. Human space flight, this NASA commercial crew program was stuck up there since June. The test pilots should have returned back in June on Boeing's Starliner capsule after what should have been a week-long flight demo. But the capsule had so much trouble getting to the space station that NASA decided to bring it back empty and reassign the pair to SpaceX. You know, that villain that's
I was just
circumventing the
about to ask,
Constitution.
where is he in this situation?
With even more work still anticipated for the new capsule, NASA opted for its next crew to fly up on an older capsule, with liftoff now targeted for March 12th. Yeah, that means another crew's going up.
You're
So
gonna miss my birthday.
this older capsule had already been assigned to a private crew awaiting launch this spring. It's probably who's the guy that owns Boost Mobile? Come on, Doug, be a thing.
I can picture him too. Oh,
We have the kid who talks to AI for like nighttime stories, and he's like, "Who's the Boost Mobile douchebag?"
No, that's oh,
are you thinking of Virgin?
Virgin Mobile. That's it. It is Virgin Mobile.
Yeah, it's because that wasn't the guy I was thinking in my head.
They should have gone with Sprint Speed.
Come on now, help me.
There it is.
Richard Branson. Okay. Yeah, I bet you Richard Branson is part of this private crew. He's like, oh, no. I got a commercial business I got to do before I croak, and it's getting rich people up in space. We've had this planned. I'm going up. Well, we've got these two people that have been stuck up there since I don't care. I'm going up. So NASA then announces that they prefer having a new crew arrive before sending the old one back. In this case, the two others who have been up there then again since September, the new crew includes 2 astronauts, as well as one from Japan and one from Russia. So now there's 4 people stuck up there. 2 of them don't speak the same language as the other 2. I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap, or they're speaking with TikTok headphones where they're just like, how about
Dude, they're playing Uno and they don't understand each other. And he gives them a take 4. After like 4 months of that too. It's not like first night. It's like 4 months into this game.
I still don't know your name, but he's really good with that reverse. So NASA's latest change in plans comes 2 weeks after the space agency said it was working expeditiously to bring back Wilmore and Williams as soon as possible. However, SpaceX and Elon, along with President Trump, have vowed to accelerate the astronauts' return and anticipate to beat NASA to the punch. So, so what's the update? Still no update. A lot of words to tell you. You're up there.
Whenever
be up there.
Whenever they get told the date, they're like, you do know they're going to take now 3 months to train people to come do this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's if everything goes to plan. And then the plan fails, knowing there's then 3-month more buffer period.
Well, you got to remember, it's less the people, it's the equipment. They got up there, faulty equipment. They're like, we don't know if the equipment's going to be able to get you home. So you just come home without them, and we'll get you a better one. And they're like, do we know how to build more of these yet? And they're like, no. All right, we're going to send 2 more up with an even older spacecraft.
They literally drove to their friend's house, got outside park, and they were like, no room, sorry, and left.
See you, bud. So those are my updates today. Let's get to today's show.
I like the 3rd one. Didn't even know about that.
Yeah. Thought you forgot about them. I didn't forget about you. I know those astronauts are streaming the Rethink Tank all the way up there. I didn't forget about you.
They're watching right now and they're like, finally, he's talking about us again.
Well, I do want to acknowledge, like, time is of the essence. This should be like a severe priority. Why? Because the longer you're up there, the more your body atrophies. They can literally die coming back to gravity.
Yeah.
Like, you actually can't be in 0 gravity for too long. In fact, at this point, it isn't much longer before if they come back, they won't be able to walk, at least for a long while. They have to rebuild their muscle strength. Yeah, dude.
I don't even
painful. That sounds painful.
And you're like, hey guys, I've got a sense of urgency. Do you guys have one down there? They're like, hey, we renamed the water Gulf of America. We're getting a lot done down here. And they're like, but what about us?
It's like they're up there. They look down and they just see in writing, Gulf of America. And they're just like, well, something's happened.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Just a bunch of ships just erasing Mexico.
They're just like rearranging. And they're like, well, that's something.
Is it going to get us home? I think it just took us longer.
No, I don't. I think they forgot again.
And they did.
They're shooting back a Morse code. It gets that bad. Beep, 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 beep. Losing their mind up there.
All right. So first topic of the day. It seems to be a series of tragedy that continues to roll upon us in the air. The question being, how safe is it to fly anymore? Because it just feels like there's an aviation tragedy that comes upon us every week. I asked Grok on Twitter here to do me a favor and give me a list of all of the airplane crash incidents in 2025. Truth be told, this was a topic I was trying to avoid. It was the big one. This first one, January 29th, we're in Washington, D.C. An American Airlines regional jet was struck by a U.S. Army Black Hawk. And this was a huge topic. I thought, it's a one-off. It's got everybody's attention right now, but there wasn't more to the story without more information to come out. But then it just was quickly followed up 2 days later with an incident in Philadelphia where a Learjet 55, a medical transplant plane carrying a child patient, crashed into a residential neighborhood shortly after takeoff from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. The crash caused massive fireball, 7 fatalities on the ground, that including the folks on the plane. February 6th then brings about another issue in Alaska where a 28B Grand Caravan operated by Bering Air of Flight 445 crashed into the Bering Sea, where en route from Unalakleet to Nome. Listen, you're in a place of the country no one's really thinking about. The plane lost speed and altitude, disappearing from the radar for 10 minutes before its scheduled arrival. Wreckage was found 34 miles from Nome. 10 casualties came from that one. February 10th in Scottsdale, Arizona, a Learjet 35A owned by Motley Crue singer Vince Neil thought he was not on board. Oh, sorry, thank you. I was like, what the? Though he was not on board, he veered off the runway upon landing at Scottsdale Municipal Airport and crashed into the parked Gulf Stream. Then just literally this past most recent one, February 17th in Toronto, Canada, a Delta Connection flight 4819 crashed, landed, and flipped upside down while attempting to land at Toronto Pearson International Airport amid strong winds and snow. Now, this runway looks like a tundra, like an icy hellscape. We got a clip here of the plane landing and flipping. It's insane.
Flames.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So glad no one got hurt.
Casualties in that one,
So
right?
glad no one got hurt.
Yeah. Well, not that no one got hurt. So in this situation,
Or
there
no
were
one
no
died,
casualties
rather.
so far. So
Yeah.
no casualties, 18 injured.
18 injured,
As with all that being said, let me remove that. With all that being said, the total fatalities in the major United States incidents listed, we have 85 deaths from the 4 fatal U.S. crashes listed above: Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Alaska, Arizona. The sources mention additional minor crashes or near misses. Japan, Delta, Seattle, Houston, Alaska again, San Diego Bay. But these either had no fatalities or incomplete casualty details as of now. As of February 17, 2025, the National Transportation Safety Board reported 87 aviation accidents in the United States, with 13 being fatal, though not all are detailed in the sources given. So with all that being said, the most recent one really gets attention because as indicated, fortunately, God bless, no fatalities. However, a lot of injuries. That meaning a lot of people walked away from the scene with a story to tell. This video is gut-wrenching. It's heavy, but it's also hilariously awesome. Catch the end.
Drop it. Come on. Don't take your
Look at that runway, dude.
Crazy.
So I'm going to go back to it. First let's watch this clip. But as he's getting off, the lady goes, "Put your phone away." And he goes, "No." It's my favorite part because it's like, lady, I just was flipped upside down. The plane's on fire. My phone's going off.
Lady, I get to use this thing.
The fact that it not a crack and works. Lady, I'm filming you.
Lady.
I'm suing you. I'm suing the pilot. I'm suing the ground.
Walked out. Lady, I got this. I didn't even spill a sip.
Here, let's see if we can catch it. It's
Everything, drop it. Come on. Don't take your phone away.
no.
No.
Put the phone away. No.
No.
So you know what, Silent, this is in your home territory. So first, let's get your thoughts on the whole ordeal.
Well, I'm no aviation expert, but that was the first comment I made too when I first saw this video. I was like, where is the snow clearance? That runway does not look like the snow is being cleared off of it. Like, that's way too much snow on that runway. But apparently, according to the experts at Toronto Pearson Airport, National Airport, that's fine and you can land on it. So I think what had happened is, from what I know, is it was extremely windy because we just had 2 back-to-back snowstorms here that resulted in like a total of 85 centimeters of snow, and it's been extremely windy. So apparently that was the main cause of this entire accident. And as I said, I'm glad no one died, and just like I know a few people did get hurt, but nothing too serious as far as I know. But I'm glad that there wasn't any fatalities, and it could have been a lot worse.
Well, as much as this situation could have been a lot worse, the problem is this is growing into a mounting situation. This seems to be like a minor, little microcosm of the larger problem. In South Korea, there was an issue that killed 179 people this past December. Boeing troubled with issues in 2018, 2019. Now, here's my problem. Trump's known for being a guy that greases the palms of his Boeing buddies, right? The plane industry seems to get the greatest buyouts, and yet they're the ones that cry for, struggling market issues. Like, we don't have the money to keep it a competitive, safe, thriving market, yet you all have the deepest pockets ever. It's like you keep needing us to bail you out, but you continue to call upon lack of funding. The reason the caliber of workers is so low is because it's a starving market, and yet you have not suffered any profit issues. Federal officials have been raising concerns about overtaxed and understaffed air traffic control systems for years, especially after a series of close calls between planes at the U.S. airports. Among the reasons why they have cited for staffing shortages are uncompetitive pay, long shifts, intensive training, and mandatory retirements. President Trump added to those concerns Thursday, as they always will tell us, when he blamed the midair collision on the obsolete air traffic control system that airports rely upon and promised to replace it. My question to you, AP News, is how does that add to the problem? Right? You're the freaking problem. When the president comes out and says, hey, I blame an obsolete air traffic control system, highlighting the issue that we need to address. How does that mount on problems? It almost seems like it's the only thing addressing, or at the very least pointing out problems. My last piece is this. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy went on Fox and said that it is way safer to travel in a car than it is way safer to travel in air than it is traveling in a car or a train. It's the safest mode of transportation. They also love to cite how motor vehicle crashes are 1 in 93, whereas this is an anomaly within 1 in 1,000. It's like, okay, but here's my problem. What was this article about by AP News? How safe can I feel flying? Okay. What is the whole article? Well, it's still safer than the other modes of transportation that you do every day. Still isn't really addressing the problem, which you used to sell me on that. I'm a big flyer. I used to just compartmentalize, not afraid of flying, because I get in a car every day and I'm so much more likely to die in a car crash. That feeling goes away when it's every week. We got a whole nother slew of them, and we're getting mad at the people pointing out what the problems are.
Well, I have 2 comments back. I agree with your points. Wanting to start. My first point, I'm the opposite of you. I don't fly often. I'm not afraid of flying. I respect flying. because it's something I have no control over. And I don't clap when the plane lands, but in my head, I'm clapping when the plane lands. I'm like, good job,
Well,
guys.
you know what? You saying that, guess what? Second we take off, nothing to think about.
No, it really is the land and the leave.
Yes, it's the land and the leave. And guess what? There were people on the Toronto plane think of the same thing.
You know, that's what I mean. So, like, once I'm up there, I'm like, unless Homelander's flying next to me, I'm feeling pretty good.
You know, my religion has, you know, my faith has strengthened over the course of the last few years, and I become more like open with doing the cross and like thanking my God as I've made it to my destination safely. It is so funny. Like now, I feel even more vindicated on those two moments. When we take off, I'm thanking, like begging you, please bring me back to the ground in one piece. And when I get to the ground in one piece, I go, thank you, dude.
Oh,
and now I
I'm-
hope everyone sees me.
I'm puckering the whole time.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Now this is me. You're welcome. Someone's talking to the big guy.
Reminds me. Oh my God, oh God, Major League, the movie, and you have Serrano. He's like on the plane like this, and the guy's like, "Oh, now you're into it." He's not fooled. It's such a good bit.
It's
such
all
a good
about
bit.
Joe Boo.
Yeah, it's such a good bit. That's what that reminded me of. So, I mean, like, I think it's been a crazy 3-week stretch, and like, there might not be another one the rest of the year. I mean, knock on wood, that's what we're all praying for, literally. You know, so this very could just be like, it's a bad month. There are bad months. It could be, I think, president is right. And I don't think it's just him. I think there's probably plenty of other, even bigger experts that are like, all right, there's a lot of the controls and the safety protocols that are being either ignored or overlooked or just kind of like, you know, routine. Like we all have routines when we drive. Sometimes we don't always necessarily pay attention, you know. We aren't always going 10 and 2, but then it brings me to the second point I had, and it is, you know, them kind of going after the administration. And I remember when he was like in office 4 years ago, everything else seemed to be going kind of hunky dory, but it always felt like there was some like weird, like little niche things going on that they would ridicule him for. And right now it's the planes thing. So I'm kind of like, all right, one, both things are happening. There is a issue with the flights right now. And two, they're using this to go after the current administration. I don't know how both, other than your point about Trump with the buyouts and the Boeing and stuff like that. So me, as someone who doesn't fly often, like I couldn't tell you the last time I was on a plane, I have no idea how to fix this other than because I'm sure these pilots are trained adequately. Like I'm sure they're trained enough.
Well, let me take us to the next half of our dialogue then, because that would be the instinctive assumption, considering the folks that used to make up this field used to be amongst the highest caliber in our community.
A lot of them are ex-pilots, like military. Like
most of them would have been, should have been, could have been. You would love to have hoped. One thing I'd like to point out, you flirted with the point I brought up about Trump, you know, how he favors greasing the palms of the plane industry, further increasing their profit margins as they don't have the ability to pay for all this stuff. I don't know. But I say that because you know what convinces the public to fork over tax dollars to Boeing buddies real quick? Like real quick? Just keep mounting these incidents, and we'll be like, give them the money, give it to them.
oh yeah, it's
just
like what,
a
insurance
convenient. I'm not gonna
liability?
say there's a correlation, causation, none of that. I'm just saying it's a convenient. The convenient symptom is the public that doesn't like you greasing the palms of your buddies would be crying for you to grease the palms of your buddies. The more this continues,
Well, it's like banks. It's like whenever banks are going under, they get the buyouts.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the same.
right,
know.
right. But guess what? A bank can't kill us. So it's not like you could create incidences to get the public to go give the banks more money.
No, you just need the housing market to kind of crash, and you need Ryan Gosling in the movie to explain it for you.
Yeah, that's true too. What do we got here? Was absolutely no identifiers of issues during landing, so most likely it's due to poor snow removal process. Yeah, I think that's probably a 2. I mean, the runway looked terrible, but even more so, Brandon Richards.
Wind too. Lots of wind.
If this is what it looked like. Let's mute it. Let's take a look. If this is what it, I mean, it looks like they landed in a lake. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is beyond the runway at this point.
Well, they're
but,
spraying water too to put out the fires.
But look, okay.
Foam.
What about the ice, Doug? What about the snow? So I'm more focused on like the tundra itself.
Notice the wind too. Do you see all the wind that's moving the snow around too? There's
for
a lot of that
So
also.
again, let's take Brandon Richardson's Occam Razor. He points out to us, well, it's just, they have few ice spots that have flipped the plane. It's all these. Isn't this the whole purpose of air traffic control? Is to go, hey, based on our calculations, you're gonna flip.
Yeah.
Or no, you're good. You'll hit the brakes and it'll break. I thought that was like your one roll. But, I want to also address Will's assumption, and it might be making an ass out of you and me because I have the same one. You'd think they'd be of the caliber to be there, but there's a whole nother aspect to this dialogue that we're not allowed to have. I'm not allowed to have it. You're not allowed to have it. Silent, if people squint enough, you're not allowed to have it either. Especially with the fade, high taper fade. So there's no other person that can say it better than Matt Walsh. And I'm going to chalk a segment here to Matt Walsh, Freedom of Information Act. I'm just taking a segment to further enhance our conversation here because here's something super interesting. 2 weeks ago, before the hole was this deep, he did a segment following the Blackhawk incident in D.C. And he points out, and this is why I'm pulling this segment, because what's cool is he's doing a segment 2 weeks ago talking about how exhausted he is from reporting for over the last 2 years. He goes, I've been telling you this was bound to happen. He goes, hate my movie, am I racist? What is a woman? But I've been telling you this was going to happen, and here I've done the research. Here's why. And this is a fascinating listen. So, again, brought to you by the Daily Wire. Here's Matt Walsh.
As you might remember, a little over a year ago, I did a few monologues on the fact that a major aviation disaster was imminent in this country. We talked about it several times over the course of a couple of months, you probably remember. And it got to the point where it felt redundant after a while because every week there'd be a new series of near misses. And every week the conclusion on this show would be the same, that something terrible is going to happen, and soon. It's just a statistical reality. You can't come that close that many times without something bad happening. And really, we didn't even have time to talk about all the near misses. In one of these monologues, I specifically pointed out that TCAS, which is the onboard collision avoidance system in most commercial airplanes, doesn't help prevent mid-air collisions when aircraft are close to the ground. It's not designed to work below 1,000 feet. So I made the point at the time that there's a very high risk of a mid-air collision near the ground, which is exactly what happened here. But let's go back and watch that again. Just this year, TCAS failed to prevent a mid-air collision at an international airport in this country, Houston Hobby. And fortunately and miraculously, nobody died as a result of that collision, but it was very close to being disastrous, as you can imagine. And that incident illustrates the obvious, which is that a fail-safe is just that. It's a fail-safe. It's not capable of solving all potential problems. It's not capable of solving all mid-air collisions, nor is it designed to. Especially when planes are close to the ground and covering a lot of ground very quickly in close proximity to one another, things can happen too quickly for the system to respond. We're closer than we've been in more than a decade to a disaster of truly historic proportions. Like, it is going to happen, and probably soon. And when it does, a lot of people will die. So that was a little over a year ago. And now, I'm not an aviation expert. I'm not even a hobbyist. I am a high school educated podcaster. But even I knew more than a year ago that this was a major risk. Our mid-air collision fail-safes simply do not work at low altitude. That's especially true given that some low-flying aircraft don't have TCAS at all, like military Blackhawks. Now, with that information, you might think that the FAA would consider, say, banning helicopters from flying directly into the approach paths of major airports like Reagan National. But they didn't think of that, apparently. Instead, this is the chart that helicopters currently use to fly around. You can see it there. And as you can see, they just put the helicopter routes right in front of the airport. Look at how close Route 1 and Route 4 are to the runway. And if there's any deviation from those altitudes whatsoever, there's a major risk of a catastrophe. I mean, there's almost no room for error here. Everyone has to be perfectly on their game at all times, or else lots of people will die. But as we know, very often air traffic controllers these days are not on their game. Almost all of the near disasters I've talked about over the years were potential mid-air collisions caused by, at least in part, incompetent air traffic control. Mm-hmm. Here's one of these near misses from Reagan National Airport, the same airport where the crash occurred on Wednesday. This is from last April. Watch.
JetBlue 1554, traffic pulls off your right. Wind calm, runway 4, cleared for takeoff.
Oh, yeah.
Blue Street 5226, left turn at November behind the Embraer, ground point 7. Left turn November behind the Embraer, ground point 7, Blue Street 5226.
Stop. We're stop. Southwest 2937, stop.
My God.
We stopped. We were cleared to cross runway 4.
And we stopped JetBlue 1554.
Oof.
Okay, so you can you can hear the controllers in the tower screaming once they realize their mistake. And by the way, if you're listening just to the audio podcast, you don't understand what's happening there. The air traffic controller was guiding a plane on the runway directly into the path of another plane. And until at the last moment, they realized what they were doing. And again, there was new footage like this every week. That's why in 2023, there were 503 air traffic control lapses that the FAA categorized as significant, which was a 65% jump year over year. So I'll say that again, significant lapses by air traffic controllers increased by 65% in a year. It's not hard to understand why this might be happening, given all the evidence of declining standards at the agency, which is another thing that we're not supposed to talk about. But it's true. Last year, for example, I published footage and documentation from whistleblowers in the FAA and the aviation industry. And what these whistleblowers made clear is that the FAA and the airlines have drastically cut their performance expectations across the board. Actually, that's underselling what happened, because the FAA specifically went out of its way to punish white applicants. They introduced a biographical questionnaire that dinged applicants that had relevant education or experience, knowing that white applicants would be affected the most. And in one case, an FAA official was even caught helping black employees, and only black employees, to access inside information that would help them in the application process. In the footage I reported on last year, a senior FAA official openly talked about the importance of reducing the number of white males in the aviation industry. So they want to reduce a certain huge category of people who work in air traffic control. And then we find out that in this case, air traffic control was understaffed. Trying to reduce understaffed, and we're supposed to believe there's no connection between those two things. As increasingly underqualified air traffic controllers have been promoted, the situation has deteriorated further, and that's produced a constant stream of near misses that continued right up until this disaster.
So again, there's a whole nother element to this thing that we have to walk on eggshells to address. And it's, yeah, the quality has declined. We want to sit here and pretend it's costs, but it's because there are, I'm going to say it, DEI, there's initiatives out there that are degrading the standard that keeps us safe. And I'm sorry, that's a truth. Left in silence? Any thought?
Oh, I mean, not really. When you and the funny part is the administration came out and said the same thing. Like after the first incident, I remember the Black Hawk incident. They brought that up. So I do think that also is in tandem to why they've been going after the administration for like the issues that are going on, which didn't make sense to me, because you kind of like, speaking of your game at the end, if you just sort of like logically think of it, you'll be like, how would the administration have an issue with like these flights? I can understand gracing the palms, and sure, that's a fair thing to point out. Like we've done it for any industry that get bailouts like that. But it's like then when you are constantly seeing and hearing that like the standards of like the business air traffic controllers is like decreasing and diminishing for whatever reason you want to call it. It just is, Then for like, again, I didn't have to squint my eyes to see who was talking and be like, making sense.
Yep.
You know, which I mean, it's too bad. And now it's like going forward, right? It's like, say there are no more incidences, and we're all praying that's the case, at least until the next incident occurs. But it's like, how long could this layover, no pun intended, kind of last in this industry to where the standards are back up?
And that's the problem, is how long, look how long it took for us to truly see an impact on the industry, right? Yeah. Negatively with all of these initiatives. I mean, now that you're trying to reverse them and get back to a reliable standard, it's probably going to take just as long.
It's like you brought it up a year ago, and now it's happening. Now it's like, all right, now when does it get back up to snuff? You know?
Well, again, how do you increase standards? You raise wages. Is the industry willing to do that? That cuts into profit margins. Well, are they allowed to sit here and worry about their profit margins in an industry that is killing people?
Well, it's like, unfortunately, yes, they are, because people are still going to fly. Like, unfortunately, like that's the bitter truth. It's like with the banks, when the banks get bought out, it's like people are still going to use the banks. They're still going to go to the banks. People aren't putting them on the money under the mattress. Right. If people are going to want to get from Cleveland, Ohio to California, they're more likely always going to look for flights rather than drive.
Dude, I don't know why the Dolphins let him go, but I saw Brian driving back from Colorado, and I'm like, that looks like a hellscape. Like
Dolphins?
Don't.
Okay.
But
I thought you were talking about the Miami Dolphins.
No, Brian, the producer.
No, I get that.
You
lost me when you said Brian then, and I heard Dolphin first. But
because he's kidnapped by dolphins.
Okay, no, continue. No, I just wasn't making that connection. I thought you were talking about the football team.
That's why I'm saying the Dolphins must have let him go, because he was on a frolic from Colorado back home, and I like who you couldn't catch me on a long drive. That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. I drive to Florida every year.
Florida's not as bad.
I've done it once in my life. You'll never get me to do it again.
But like, Florida's not as bad. I mean, if you're going east to west, you're going through the mountains.
Yeah.
Like, you're going through like terrain that's not going from here to Florida is
a straight shot. You're getting on a freeway.
Exactly. Like, you might hit Virginia.
But it's still
mountains.
Exhausting. Driving is exhausting.
No, it's time consuming, but like, you're still like going from east to west coast. Who's doing that drive? Like, routinely, you know?
That's why it stood out to me. I was like, oof.
So when you bring up like the bailouts get brought up, it's like, no, I get why they're going to continuously get bailed out, and they're going to have the palms greased, because this is a necessity that we as people today use.
Yeah, look at business people.
Now, we don't.
Private jetpacks.
Or we should. Okay, now we shouldn't decrease the standards. And unfortunately, as we all know, for various reasons, we've decreased standards, not just in this industry, like across the board.
Right.
But the problem is in this industry, you're flying a plane and you might hit other flying objects.
Yeah, well.
But now it's in that lag period where it's like, when does it now shift back to kind of how it was before? Or when the standards are just normal? You know, I don't know. Could it be another year?
Probably.
Like, I'm looking at this state right now. And again, I don't fly much, but I know you do. And it's like, are you eager to hop on a flight somewhere?
Dude, my dad left today. First off, my mom left a week ago. That was, you know, you're like, oh, please. And she makes you like, okay. Which has never been something that I felt before. Before I was like, of course mom's going to make it. Now dad leaves with my dog to go take the dogs. And I'm like, Missy, please make it. Please, I need my dog.
Dave, we're glad you're there safe too.
But yeah, that's a good thing too.
I'll say it.
It's a good thing too. But my dog made it. No. But again, that's a scary thing, because that's never been a thought. It's never been, oh, I hope they make it. Please make it. Please. It's always been, oh, I'm glad you made it.
All right. Personally, for me, it's always been a thought, but I just think I'm like a freak like that. But I mean,
you're vindicated.
Normal people who fly often have never had that thought. Like, I've always heard this is the safest way to travel. And like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't hear about
this.
Well,
also,
often.
we're unique too, because like our age group, we were at that young, impressionable age when 9/11 happened. And that's when air travel changed. So I remember air travel a little bit.
A lot more casual.
I remember smoking on planes.
And I remember smoking on planes. Yeah. You could bring whatever you want. My dad one time brought a metal bat on carry-on.
Dude, I had a Maltese. Popcorn was her name.
Popcorn.
This dog grew to a maximum of 4 pounds. But at her infancy, when I got my grandma goes out buys a Maltese, comes home. We're all at her condo in Florida. My mom, my
You're
dad, my
down
sister.
there.
She comes home to her condo with a puppy. Me and my sister are elated. This couldn't
Ecstatic.
be more
Oh, yeah.
excited. My mom literally sneaks the dog home in her purse. Let that sit in. My mom snuck a dog home in her purse. That dog was silent. Every once in a while, poke her head out when we were sitting there, just, oh, hi, little puppy. And then she'd go back in. This dog, little teacup thing, little tiny dog, walked onto the plane with it. Nothing.
So yeah, it's and
Now you can't even get a mini bottle of shampoo, or you are a terrorist.
And here's the thing: those changes, I don't care. Like at this point, like they're so normal now to where I'm like, that's just how it is. I'm not used to Blackhawks running into these planes, and like now that's like a thought I'm having in my head. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't bring on my water, but I might hit the Blackhawk on the way down.
It is funny that's your point because, okay, a plane coming in and, hitting a bad land and having this terrible incident, you and I both agreed if we were going to think it was going to happen somewhere, it's on the takeoff or the landing. No one's predicting a mystery Blackhawk to just come from the ethos from down under and bust you open.
Now, if you look down to the left, you'll be able to see my boom. Like no one's thinking that, and it's like it sucks. It sucks. Like it's sad, and
it is,
but it's again, there are words I'm not allowed to say, but they're words that I'm always thinking. And now I'm stuck in this. And I don't fly, so for all you people who are flying out there, I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
But and it's just like, but it did take me back. It did take me back. And I'm going to talk about the administration again. I remember when he was in 8 years ago, when he first got in, and he started screwing with everything they were doing, and everybody else around us, logical people, were like, oh, this ain't that bad. Whatever happened to the 4-letter word in the middle of over there? I don't hear about them anymore. I remember they would bring up random things that were just like happening in the country, which they were happening, but I'd be like, I never heard about this with the other people. Was this also going on with the other people too?
Probably.
Like for a thought I've had recently sure, we've had a lot of incidences lately. It's still February. Say by the end of the year, we get to December. It's like, all right, are we still like in the same like number of like incidences that have happened over like that spread of time? Or is it going to be a year where it's like, no, it like is up
Never
like
stopped.
50%?
Yeah.
From other years. Again,
Well, and I think that's why it becomes a conversation today because, first week of January, you're just like, whoa, year's off to a crazy start.
Yeah, right.
Then it's like, okay, another week and another week and another week to the point where you're like, all right, how much is this? Is this a thing? Is this a trend?
Right. Is this like
because
an actual
again,
thing now?
if Matt Walsh had his finger on the pulse, then this should have happened sooner or it should have happened more. Like now we're experiencing it. To me, it just feels like, I don't know. At the same time, there's this eerie, like, they're reporting on it, but there's a lack of productive dialogue surrounding it. Like, how do you get my ass back in a plane? We got to start talking about what was the issue that consistently repeats itself. And if it isn't what Matt Walsh reported a year and a half ago, and it isn't what Donald Trump calls it 2 years ago and this last week, and it isn't the air traffic control, which we keep indicating is one of the most like difficult, grueling jobs a person can take on, then what is it?
I don't know. And that's like the what sucks about these kind of like conversations that I like that we have, because it's like, we know it is what it is. Sucks. And I want it to get better, but it's like, is it an immediate fix? It's like, no, I don't see it being an immediate fix. I think this is like an institutional issue now that could take some time to kind of fix. And what sucks is people are, actively losing their lives at it.
Oof. Silent, do me a favor. It happened in your neck of the woods, so you can help us start to land this
I knew
plane.
you were going to do it.
Do me a favor and give me your rapping thoughts.
I knew you were going to do it.
Look, all this shows us is that there needs to be way more tighter requirements for air traffic control. Obviously, airplanes are eventually just going to land themselves and fly themselves and be autonomous, but we're not quite there just yet. We maybe have to wait 5-10 years for that. But in the next 5 to 10 years, we really need to take time to train people, make sure that they're bringing their A game, make sure that they're using technology to assist them to avoid mistakes like this that are very obvious, and can be easily avoided. So I think with time, things will get better, but unfortunately, things look pretty bad now. And whatever the reasons are, like whether it's bad weather or bad traffic control or bad runway or bad planes or planes that are rushed because certain plane companies want to cut corners. At the end of the day, considering how many planes are in the sky, as much as plane crashes there has been this year, that's still such a tiny percentage fraction to the total planes that actually fly all the time and land safely. So yes, this is definitely of concern. Don't get me wrong. This is definitely like raising a lot of red flags that need to be addressed immediately, like what Matt Walsh said, because of course, if we don't address these things, more people are going to get hurt and more people are unfortunately going to have to die. And we don't want that. And so I think swift legislation that basically raises the bar to become an air traffic controller and raises the bar to allow airplanes that are actually built well, that get tested thoroughly before they fly and get really inspected deeply, like literally turn every screw, like turn every rivet, all of it, inspect it, double check it, triple check it, because obviously a lot of these planes are just being rushed, right? And being released out to the public because the backlog due to, the pandemic and all that has obviously gotten the demand really, really, really high. And of course, because everything was shut down, they're playing catch up. And so we have that. And then, of course, like what Matt Walsh highlighted, we also have the whole practice of, oh, yeah, we need more air traffic controllers, but oh, yeah, let's exclude certain demographics and not hire them, but hire this demographic. When obviously that's not the right move to do whatsoever. They really should be training these people regardless of where they're from or what their skin color is like or what their race is or any of that. Should all be irrelevant. You should be able to pass a strict, rigid test. And if you pass that, you should be able to work.
Well, I agree that we need to have, higher standards. As much as we circle that conversation, that always then opens the other side of the dialogue, which is who gets to, create those standards and is willing to take on the liability that those standards are stringent and reliable. So it'll be an interesting way we approach this, because there has to be a concession somewhere. If the problem really is DEI initiatives, if we're never willing to acknowledge it and we just want to continue to recreate those issues, well, then it's not going to change. However, if it is something that we're willing to acknowledge, then we could probably address that aspect of it. What if it's finances? Well, then if we get lost in the DEI crap, whether we keep it or lose it, whatever, if it is funding that is required and we're wasting our efforts in the weeds over there, then we're also not addressing the problem. So one, this starts with like a proper diagnosis of the issue. After parsing through the facts, it seems clear to me that the issue is the standard, and the standard being we're trying to raise the wrong attributes, intellect and talent taking a back seat to immutable characteristics that have no aspect of evaluating a person's credibility. With that being said, before I flip it to Will, I do just want to take a look here at some of the last comments. As Brad Richardson said, airports typically use runway condition reporting or the runway friction index to assess the runway status. They report these conditions to air traffic controllers, to the pilot. So again, maybe through the game of telephone, if there's issues there, it may not be the air traffic controllers. They're going off of the information provided to them, and it's actually a grander issue on the ground, which also seems pretty credible when the ground is covered in ice and maybe needs a different approach to addressing it. Additionally, visibility. Snow can also reduce visibility, so controllers monitor this closely as well, ensuring the pilot has adequate visibility to safely approach the land. So if there's one thing to say that I think is pretty clear, it's that there is a huge weight on the shoulders of air traffic controllers. There's so much to be evaluating, and you're talking about margins of seconds, if not milliseconds, and the costs are astronomical. So there's an even greater element of pressure. And I'm sorry, you, the listener, but also friends in the studio. I mean, take a second and think about how many mornings you walk in just half in the bag, just tired. You were up too late, and it takes till noon to get the rust off and to really get the gears moving. We're talking about a whole field of people that don't get to experience that. They're not allowed to have a day off. They can't have a bad hour. They got to come in on top of it. And, if we need to make changes like truck drivers, you can only drive a maximum number of hours, and it's logged and it's measured and it's over. This is a thing that's policed and overseen.
Very strictly tracked.
Yeah. So maybe we need to create some tracking standards that create a safer work environment for a population that already has a severely high level of stress and weight carried upon their actions. It's scary that something like this could be predicted so far in advance, right? Like Matt Walsh does something like this a year and a half ago, saying like, is anybody listening to me? And it's getting exhausting, having to continuously draw attention to this as it just resurfaces as an ongoing problem. It's going to take tragedy. Well, then tragedy struck, still nothing. Okay, well, now it's going to take a series of tragedies. Okay, well, now we're upon that series, and it's only getting worse. So how much does the pile need to mount before we put this to a halt? Because like Will said, people are not going to stop flying. Like it's like smoking. Like no matter how much we say it's going to kill you, there's people that have built lives around this. They need it for work. They need it for, see their loved one, whatever it may be. And they're going to take on that risk. So that only increases not only the liability, the severity, the fear, but also the necessity for action. And the more we become critics of the people calling for action and the people that are having a productive dialogue for change, the more we demonize them, the more we become the problem. So take a look in the mirror. Don't get lost in the weeds of whose mouth it's coming from. Orange man bad. The orange man who's bad is speaking for the betterment of you and your neighbor. It's about time you shut up and try to just help. Be productive in the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like your point too. Like the amount of stress those workers are under, I couldn't imagine. I have drowsy days and I work with you, so but
that only makes it harder.
It's one of those things. The problem is tiptoeing around discussions about it doesn't help. And the problem is like, I would love more transparency on what the issue is. And the problem is I think it's a very, I wouldn't say straightforward, like it's a multitude issue, but if one of the topics is something you got to walk on eggshells around, I don't think that benefits the conversation.
I agree. Doug, any wrapping thoughts?
I like your comment on kind of treating it like truck drivers. Like there should probably be some more rules there, but I think they're considered federal employees, and that's a whole different rule book. Probably, government employee, federal employee, highly needed federal job. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, we're going to work you to the bone and just waive our laws that say we can't, but I think the first best thing would be making sure they're at least on top of their game, like you said. And that's got to be hard every day you go in. Like Will said, it's like, man, sometimes I wake up on a Monday and I go, I don't want to work today, but I have to.
Dude,
and at least I'm not responsible for lives. Oh my God.
Yeah. Boy, that would be exhausting. Going into our second topic of the day, because I really want to make sure we have time here for a game at the end. Our president, Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, awaits the response from Google over the Gulf of Mexico name. So Monday, Mexico announced, and its president, Claudia Sheinbaum, announces that they are awaiting a new response from Google to its request to fully restore the name Gulf of Mexico to its map services before they file their lawsuit. We will wait Google's response, and if not, we will proceed to court. Mexico has argued that the mapping policy violates Mexican sovereignty because the U.S. only has jurisdiction over 46% of the Gulf. The rest is controlled by Mexico, which controls 49% of Cuba, which controls 5%. The name Gulf of Mexico dates back to 1607 and is recognized by the United Nations. For now, and again, this comes back to what I said the last time you squawked. You crybaby. It's call yourself whatever you want. Call yourself the Gulf of Unicorns. It literally doesn't matter. It only matters what the rest of the world calls it. So you call it Gulf. Now we've got to vote. This is democracy at its finest. You call it Gulf of Mexico. You sit there with your residents of cartel people. Yeah, you don't even have people. Your country of cartel folks. You guys call it Gulf of Mexico. We'll call it Gulf of America. All the schools that we have funded throughout the whole globe, they'll call it Gulf of America. All of the global delegates across the world that need our USAID, they'll call it Gulf of America. See, it's almost like the kid at the playground with the biggest stick gets to call the pool whatever they want. So you call Gulf of Mexico, we'll call Gulf of America. And then also, last point is this. If I'm Google, I'd be like, sue me. I'm taking away Google. You no longer have Google. You don't need, there is not a global legal right to Google. This isn't water. So Google's going to go, we are an American corporation and we can decide where we're at wherever we want. And we're going to pull from you. And we're going to ask Elon Musk to use, what's the super satellites he's got?
Starlink.
Yeah, I'm going to use Starlink and put it in Guam. I'm going to have some guy in a mud hut Googling who's the psycho that killed all of her candidates to become president in Mexico. And your folks are going to be stuck using Bing.
Or ask Jeeves.
Yeah, you're going to be asking Jeeves while Google's like, tell me about that lawsuit again.
Well, just shut up. Is it really that big of a deal for them? Like, I'm sorry.
It seems to be. It's their only relevance, I guess.
And the border, that's a relevant thing they don't address.
Yeah, because, when you're profiting from it, it's hard to turn off the spigot.
If they address the border more often, we probably didn't do this. Probably be like, hey, you know what?
Wait, no, you're getting what you deserve because you refuse to address the border. When the new president walks in and says, I'm going to address the border, you all get upset like it's a problem. Like, how dare you? It's like false imprisonment. You're imprisoning me in my country where I don't want to be. Then why Viva la Mexico? Because the Gulf's named after us. You guys?
You know what? Respect you, Shylon. We didn't go after Niagara Falls. We came after the Gulf.
The American Falls.
We like the sound of that one. Like, it's got a ring to it. It's been around for hundreds of that's
we go to the border there and we're all looking at it and be like, that's pretty cool.
The Canadian side is nicer anyway, so
it sounds like a fabric of American history.
Yeah.
Niagara.
Then we go to the Gulf and we see the Alamo in the corner and be like, why did they get to choose that name?
Don't forget. All right. So why is this an interesting topic for the day? Because, when the Gulf of America thing first kicked off, it just seemed like such a funny troll.
I thought it was a meme.
Yeah, that definitely is how it read. Gulf of America. Heh, do it. Make the libs burn. Like, watch them rage. Do it. And we did it. And we watched you rage. It's been fun. I grabbed my popcorn. I watched Psycho's Psycho. It was like watching, a zebra and its stripes. They did exactly. They played right into the hand. But what I didn't realize, 4D chess, as the commander-in-chief always does, there was more to this play than I even initially realized, which makes the Gulf of America taste even sweeter. Democrats fail to have any logic. There actually is not a position they hold that doesn't in some way, shape, or form contradict another position they hold. Everything about their political scheme contradicts another aspect of their political scheme. That's why they really can't they need to silence you because they can't hold weight in a constructive debating dialogue. So because they can't beat you in a logical academic sphere, they play word games. And they'll get lost in you're not using the proper terms. I'm a he, they, she, what. It's you're using microaggressions in your language, and it totally derails productivity from actually addressing the facts of the matter. It's a great, Houdini smoke and mirrors scheme when you actually have no substance. So the Gulf of America play is playing their game right back at them. You need it's kind of like the autistic trans folks. Why they need you to call them they or she is because they have a dystopia, and they think they're whatever. They live their own truth, but they can't just find self-gratification, self-confirmation. It only exists because they have such a lack of a grip on reality. They need reality to confirm their delusion. And that's all they reach for and that'll be kind of the theme that leads us into our final game here. But they need the world to confirm their delusion. And instead, we are going to get them so far from while we're, addressing how Social Security, I had my employer yell at me. Can you believe that those evil people in charge right now were so mean? They put the pressure on the head of the Social Security Commission to step down. How disgusting. And I go, did you see that there were about 7 million people over the age of 150 still collecting Social Security? The oldest person of which still collecting Social Security is 360 years old. I'd step down too. Crickets. Yeah, you're not going to like it once you push the envelope enough that the peons that you step on every day actually start barking back. And so I'm only saying that because as real shit's happening, we're about to go into Fort Knox. And it's like, did you see Elon Musk call out to A. Jones? He goes, I want you to live stream me walking through Fort Knox. I got a hunch there's not all the gold we say is not there. What are we going to do then? Like they've created a whole false reality, and it's just crumbling around them the more we peel back the veil. And so what better way, as you're constructively addressing the holes in the system, while you've got these little muskrats that just keep squawking and getting in the way, what better play than getting them distracted with their own stupid fucking word game? You go worry about what the frickin' body of water is called in a textbook. We're going to uncover how we can only, get this, we can only retire 15,000 people a day federally, maximum. Only 15,000 people on maximum a day. Because we still have all of these filings in a limestone granite cave underground, all paper, nothing's digitalized. The whole country's retirement system is a paper filing system employing 500 people underground. So yeah, no, wait, you can't retire more than that. So as we're getting to finally shoveling dirt, real work, it's like the dogs throw a milk bone and they're going to just run with it. Google's being chased like, and it's like, yeah, go chase the mailman. We're going to address the problems because it's so fun watching them melt over the name of something that means nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of been my thought with it. I was like, well, who cares?
They do. They sure as shit care about something they never once thought about a day before it happened.
I never even been to the Gulf. And I'm like, I don't care what it's called.
You actually have. You were attacked by a dolphin in the Gulf.
Oh, we were on that side?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that named after us. Never mind. I do have a say in this fight. It's ours.
It's mine. It's mine.
I stepped in it. I matter.
So, Silent, as an outsider looking in, what do you make of the fun, from the Canada, the cap above? What do you make of our little golf problem or golf dilemma down here?
I mean, honestly, it's just a name. Like you said, at the end of the day, it's just a name. Who cares? Like, who actually cares? Is someone actually looking at the map and staring and saying the name like a million times a day? No. Nobody really cares. Most people that actually see that name every day are usually like boats or ships. But I bet you they don't even care either, because they're probably just going to sail to wherever they're sailing to and just move on with their lives. Like, it's just a name, guys, at the end of the day. It's really not that deep. It's not that serious. It's really not. It's not that deep. It's really not
that serious.
Well, it really is like the individual who said it is the bigger issue. Like the individual who decided the name and change it to them. Like, that's the bigger issue for them. That's why they're.
Well, that's what it is. It's seen as a threat, right? It's seen as like,
right.
Oh, look at America being a big bad bully, changing names when they're not really supposed to. But at the same time, again, it's just a name. Who cares, dude? It's just sea. Nobody really owns the sea, right? Like, of course, you have like the 200 miles that are your countries, but after that, it's just water, and a whole bunch of animals and algae, and that's it. There's really not that much to it, Like, it's I think something to sort of cast a stone and to create a diversion or a distraction. When you have a lot of problems in your country, it's like, hey guys, look at America. They're being a big bad bully over there, changing names without asking us. It was called the Gulf of Mexico for X amount of years. Now they want to call it Gulf of America. Oh my God, look at America. They're being bullies again.
You're right.
Good.
As we prop up everything you know and love. That being said, I do want to just at least address a few things surrounding our president, Sheinbaum here, or Sheinbaum, really emphasizing Sheinbaum. Sounds Latin if you asked me. That's as close to that line as I'm going to get with this segment. Sheinbaum. So she's faced significant pressure from Trump, but she has significant close ties with the cartel and organized crime. There's about 10,000 people who have direct links with drug trafficking to her background. She has allegations of political ties to outside of her country. We're not going to walk those roads in this segment. And a few of the things that have come from her past, she is alleged to have been responsible to oversee the city. She was the head of Mexico City from 2018 to 2023, and she apparently oversaw the capital during the collapse of a metro overpass on line 12, which killed 26 people. Critics argue that corruption or negligence is part of the problem here, and she was at the center of it all. During her times as mayor in Tlalpan, 2015 to 2017, a private school collapsed in an earthquake, killing 19 children and 7 adults. Critics allege that Sheinbaum ignored or failed to act on reports of illegal construction permits, potentially tied to the corrupt local officials, which seems to surround most of the things in her past. I'll get to her campaign. That's its own conundrum. She was accused of benefiting from vote buying schemes and leveraging Marina's social programs, potentially funded through diverted public resources. She supported judicial reform, allowing properly elected judges who have been criticized as a move to consolidate power and potentially shield corrupt allies because they have direct shared financial schemes supporting them. Some see this as enabling a system where loyalty trumps accountability. And the biggest one that I think is just absolutely insane is how she got to that seat. I mean, kind of like why, Democrats failed to acknowledge why Kamala didn't get that seat. It's like you circumvented democracy, and we are not Mexican, so we're not willing to overlook it. Go figure. It is indicated that there were 330 incidents of violence targeting political figures during her campaign period that got her elected. Let this part sink in. 37 candidates died during this 2024 election cycle in which Shannon Bob ran and won the presidency. And they all have some, gray overhang with the cartel. And I'm supposed to sit here. I'm just going to say, I may call this the Gulf of El Salvador. I may, because I'm supposed to sit here and just muster up an inkling of empathy for your ass when El Salvador is coming out here calling for, hey, we're going to clear out our prisons. The country will continue not only accepting Salvadorian deportees who illegally enter the United States, but it will also accept for deportation of any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, including and not limited to MS-13. The gang members that like kids, that shares the same pizza recipe as Hillary Clinton because they're all homies or gatos or de cambres. Well, guess what? El Salvador's like, give them to us. We'll get in your good graces. We're clearing out all our prisons so you can clear out your criminals. We'll take them. I'm calling it the Gulf of El Salvador. That's how little the name matters and how little you support us, but still call for our care or empathy. I'm out of it. Close the sieve you call a border and we'll talk. I'd love to help you make where you're at better. And I'd love to avail you of the resources to achieve that. However, the only way it is achieved is severing your relationship with the murderous gang members that killed 37 people to get you president. So I don't think you're ever going to lose them. That's my starting and wrapping point. Hey, Silent, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's one of those things, like I said, it's one of those things that Mexico just has so much chaos going on that they're just looking for any sort of reason to sort of like be like, hey guys, but look at the US, they're being bullies while we have a whole bunch of like half the cities burning and being overtaken by criminals and drug lords and cartels, It's kind of like a projection and a deflection, if you will. Really, that's what this is. Like, if you actually step back and look at actually what's going on in Mexico, it's so obvious. It's so obvious that this is exactly what it is. Because as we said before, it's just a name, guys. It's a sea. It's a whole bunch of water. Who cares what it's called? Really? Like, you guys are just making a big fuss out of a bunch of water. Like, come on.
Oh, you couldn't be more right.
Yeah.
Will, what are your rapping thoughts?
I'd be as antagonistic to that bitch as much as possible.
Especially at this point.
I regardless how she got into office, personally,
Not regardless. Very much regarding you killed 37 people to become president.
Okay.
Why do we ignore that? We wouldn't.
I'm not ignoring it. I'm not ignoring it.
We just left a dead president. We all saw it. Weekend at Bernie's. And they were like, we're doing a coup. It's going to be the Indian lady. And we were like, nope. That ignores democracy too much. And people were still voting. They're like, you like him? Dead. You like her? Dead. You like him? Dead. You like him? Dead. 37 times. At some point we go, that's a big one.
I know. And we still have Hillary Clinton going out there saying, vote for our side. So I'm not going to look at her and be like, wow, let's be hypocritical to her. What I will say is when immediately, though, and it's like Trudeau did the same thing, but he bent the knee right away. Like, he came down and kissed the ring. She was antagonistic from the start. We all knew these facts. The facts you all just listed, we all knew these facts. And now you're coming after us about the border and now the Gulf of America. Oh, yeah. Make it as difficult as possible for her for the next 4 years. I don't have sympathy. I don't have any sympathy for the Mexican citizens that are involved with the cartel that are just unfortunately in the situation they're in, living there. I feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like this woman, it's like, oh, she did all that down there. That's great. She's doing none of that up here. Just make it harder for her. Make it harder the whole way. Make her look like an ass on global stage. You're mad about this border. You couldn't defend your border of water name. And you got rid of 37 people to be in your seat. Couldn't even say, don't change the name. Yeah, I don't care. Right. Make it worse for them. Make it unbelievably difficult for them. Personally, for me, it's strictly the border. Like, fix that. Come to the table, we'll talk. But you're not. You're making it as difficult as possible. You're stonewalling as often as you can get. And you keep talking about this body of water that the administration probably wouldn't have even touched if you kept that in line.
Well, and even more so, I kind of wrap my thought out, but I do want to put one little cherry on top of this conversation, which is, can we circle back to Google? Like, at what point does Google have a legal obligation to call anything what Mexico wants it called? What, Doug? Doug's
you
got
mentioned
an answer.
that, and this was going to be part of my rapping thought is Google has already bent the knee to China. Like, if
But
you're
do
in
they
China,
have to?
they call Taiwan.
They're bending the knee
province
because of
and all that.
money, not because they have to.
I'm just saying.
Can we agree? Can we agree? Google decided the product I'm selling to the people is an accurate and adequate geographical mapping location device. At the same time, I am Michael Malice, and I'm just a troll. And my endeavor is to create a similar geographical device that is a tool for the people. But I make up the names. This is Dumbo Street. Turn left on Upside Down Road. And actually, no, it's all Alexander Gurgat. Turn left on Alexander Gurgat 1 to find Alexander Gurgat 2. To take a right on it's all named after me. Like, Waze was an app that superseded all the apps before it because it gave all these features that the people wanted. So guess what? What is policing or forcing Google to do it beyond the market, as Doug indicates? There's no legal binding. Let's talk about Mexico. Where do you sue another country or corporation entity? In a world court. Okay, at what point do I have a legal law to you, Mexico, to call whatever by your dictation? What makes something an official title, word, exclamation? I would say nothing more than all of us in unison using that. If I go around, if my name is Bob, but everybody's calling me Susan, doesn't matter how much I want to be Bob. Turns out I'm a Susan. Because that's how the world is referring to me. No matter how much I call apples red balls, everybody calls them apples. Looks like I'm outvoted. No matter how much I want to sue Apple for calling that emoji anything other than a red ball, turns out it's an apple.
Yeah. That's why I'm like just be antagonistic there.
Yeah.
4 years. Because like that's what she's trying to do. And she's really trying to like strong arm her way because she's strong arming her way into everything at the moment. And it's like you really thought you'd get in and just strong arm the country to the north.
Yes.
Probably.
I agree. All right, Doug, I'm going to give you one last opportunity. Do you have any rapid thoughts for us beyond that?
No. Like I was just going to bring up that Google had already kind of bent the knee, but we just talked about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Google just keeps what they're doing, which is if you're in Mexico, it says Gulf of Mexico. If you're in America, it says Gulf of America. Everyone's happy that way.
That'd be a sad reality. Like, stand by something. Draw a line in the sand and stand by something. But they won't because money dictates everything. But, your wrapping thought being, they bent the knee to China. I guess my wrapping thought to that, like the only thing I could extrapolate is, I guess it's refreshing to see a company at least resist initially bending the knee again. It's almost like we're finally seeing a small shift in the culture. All right, to the last segment we have here, we got a game. So I'm asking for all the folks at home, everybody joining us live, play along with us. We'd like to get your thoughts on it. But the game we're playing today is it liberal or logical? So again, as liberals like to, they play these word games. They're out here being the PC police, and they're dictating terms. And the theme that is carried out throughout the whole episode is that these terms are meaningless, and it's a wasted, scheme to exhaust yourself on because it distracts you from the facts of the matter and prevents us from having valuable and constructive dialogues. So, to segue into the game, I want to present a video. We had shared this a couple weeks ago on the Rethink Tank page, but here is an interview by Lex Friedman. He's interviewing a that's one. Okay. He's interviewing an ex-CIA agent, and the CIA agent kind of gives some insight on how to be extra convincing. And, it carries out as like a theme you should really just use to implement in your everyday.
The one spy trick you would teach everyone that they can use instantly.
The most important spy trick to change everything immediately is something called perception versus perspective. We all look at the world through our own perception. My dad used to tell me perception is reality. I was arguing this with him when I was 14 years old. I told you so, Dad, you're still wrong. But perception is your interpretation of the world around you. But it's unique only to you. There's no advantage in your perception. That's why so many people find themselves arguing all the time, trying to convince other people of their own perception. Perspective is observing the world from outside of yourself, or even more powerful, to sit in the seat of the person opposite you. When you shift places and get out of your own perception and into someone else's perspective, now you're thinking like them, which is giving you an informational advantage. But you know what they're all doing? Everyone else out there is trapped in their own perception.
Boom. So with that being, a fruitful piece of advice, we need to build strong thinkers here in the Rethink Tank. And one thing that I can speak for in regards to my contestants today is that no one in this room has adopted there's a whole faction. Half of this country is believing this delusional, unhealthy cult. And we need to reason with them. We need to be able to reach across the aisle and have fruitful dialogues. Well, as long as we live in our own perception, we're going to fail to do that. We need to put a strong thinker isn't one that just has mastered our own perception, but we also have to get a strong handle on the other's perspective. Let's put ourselves in their shoes. So the real challenge is going to be, it's going to be easy to write yourself off going, I don't know those terms because I don't think like an idiot. But also, you have to understand the idiot to be able to actually have some productive dialogue with them. So I want to test who is the strongest at putting themselves in that person's perspective and in turn being probably the more persuasive, stronger thinker. So what I am doing in this competition with all of you listening as well, I have a list of terms that regular, everyday, logical people are using. We know them. They've been a part of our culture for centuries. And yet now there's a whole new faction within this cult that are demanding new terms. I want to test you in your ability. Are you too logical, or can you be liberal? Can you see through the liberal lens? Can you guess what the proper liberal term is for the everyday word or phrase? So we're going to start with Will. We'll go to Doug, and then we'll go to Silent. I'm gonna give you a term. I'm going to ask you to give me the not logical. I'm going to ask you to give me the liberal term that it's being dictated replacing. So the term is illegal alien. Can you give me what the proper term for an illegal alien is supposed to be?
All right, like the actual term, like the actual logical term.
No,
or they're. I'm giving. Okay. Okay. Wait. What's the word again?
Illegal alien.
All right. You ever see that movie where Seth Rogen is the alien?
Yeah.
That one. It's him.
No.
Oh shit.
It is undocumented immigrant is the proper term for an illegal alien. All right, Doug, coming to you. Maybe you could get a point here. Show us that you have the ability to think outside of your perception and have an accurate ability to construct a different perspective. What is the proper term? There's three possible that I'll take. The proper term for a man or woman.
He, she. I don't know.
It's a person or an individual or a non-binary is the proper term for a man or a woman. All right, Silent, are you catching like how to play this? Are you picking up?
Yeah, no, I'm
Right,
getting
at
it.
least
Yeah.
someone might have the ability. Rethink for me, dude. Give me this one's really tough.
Oh boy,
What's
here we
the
go.
proper term for a pregnant woman? Because that would be offensive. Do not call them a pregnant woman.
A mother to be?
Nope, that you're
I actually
assuming
think I
a
could do that
gender
one.
too.
I actually think I get
What?
this one. It's an individual who is about to birth a child.
That's pretty close. At
Really?
least
Yeah.
now you've got your finger on the pulse of the game.
Yeah, no, it took me like
Okay.
2 sessions for me to be like, oh, now I get it.
The real term they are asking you to use is pregnant people.
I've heard that word before. I've
What?
heard that. Okay.
Pregnant people. That's crazy.
People can be pregnant, not just women. That would be offensive.
I don't want to take a point. I just want to be
Yeah,
like, all right, I'm
right.
getting the idea. I'm getting
Yes,
the idea.
yes.
Because the first question, I was like,
All right, so we got our first round through.
okay,
So now,
I hate this.
can you give me the proper term for non-trans people?
Fuck no. I'm sorry. The proper term for non-trans people. Cis.
It's cisgender.
Yeah, bitch. I got you. I'm coming for your ass.
They might like that. I'd pump the brakes.
Oh my God. That took me a second. And then it clicked. I was like, no, I know.
You did well. I got to hand it to you. All right, Doug, coming back to you. If you are discussing like a newborn, you should not use the phrase biological sex. What should you use?
Oh, I know this. Dog, phone a friend.
Baby. That's just what you call it, a baby.
No, not its biological sex. No.
How it identifies.
Well, it hasn't learned language yet. So you're not supposed to call it the baby's biological sex. It's the baby's sex assigned at birth. You guys are being too logical here.
I thought
Crank
mine
it
was
back.
pretty good.
Yeah, you're
I needed
closest.
it to be 2 years old for me to like get that right.
All right, Silent, coming back to you, giving you the test. They are now offended by the term woke. It hurts their feelings. It was a term self-identifying. They self-proclaimed it. Now it's offensive. So it's you shouldn't use woke. You should use what?
Aware?
Socially aware.
That was good.
I'm gonna give it. That's
I give it to him. Give that to him.
100%. Way to go, Silent. You got your head in the game.
Yeah.
You're out here rethinking. All right, coming back to you, Will. You're catching a stride here. Let's see if we really got something. It would be offensive to call them homeless. What should you call them?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I could think of like 5 words that I'll get pissed off at me about. So it's not a homeless person. Well, it's a homeless person, but I can't call them that.
Correct.
It's their preferred term for a homeless person. Do the homeless people know this is how they're called? Or like,
I love this. Poor. You just got canceled by them. The mob's after you.
A nomad?
A nomad. You're using that organic matter between your ears too much.
I know. Like I was like, they're not calling them that.
They don't like it to be homeless. These folks are unhoused. As if that changes their condition at all.
It would piss me off if I was homeless. I'd be like, bitch, you think they took it away?
I'm sitting there rotting in my own pee and clothes that I've worn for the last year. He's not homeless. He's unhoused. And yet I'm still on the sidewalk.
And yet I got shit in my pants.
All right, Doug. This one might be a little too personal. So, if you're offended, we could always pass to someone else. They shouldn't call Doug a producer who is disabled. He's what's the proper word for disabled? Because it'd be inappropriate to call the kettle black.
Once again, like 5 words just came to mind. And they're all wrong.
You can call them a Doug.
Just give him the
You know what?
point.
That's a point.
Just give him the point.
All right, hold on. Did anybody throw any guesses? You shouldn't call them disabled or Doug's. You should call them differently abled.
That's worse.
It's like these.
That's offensive. I'm pissed.
All right. Well, we got a bit of a tie here between Will
Defensively-
and Silent.
How did they say it?
Differently abled versus disabled.
I would punch someone.
Can we just well, because dis is a prefix that means not, and it's not that I'm not abled. I'm just different. God, you guys are exhausting. All right.
I genuinely thought autistic was the answer.
Here we are. That actually, should I share the screen? Yeah, I got it. Hold on. I do want to share the screen for the people. The people that are joining us, you should screenshot this. So if you ever have to, that's what I got to do. I got to pull the picture up. So if you ever have to, you can share this with your folks at home, your friends and family who doubt you. Let it be known that their favorite quirky, fun news source, NPR, tells us that transgender and non-binary people are up to 6 times more likely to be autistic. Just a statistic you should ignore. Nothing to see here, folks. But Silent, let's get back to the game. I got one for you. Can you tell me the proper term for ghetto? Don't call it a ghetto.
Developing neighborhood.
This guy's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Is it
pretty
the
good.
projects?
No, that's definitely worse, Doug.
Yeah, that's the ones your boomer parents use. They're like, don't use that.
That's definitely
Don't
against
use
their religion.
It's not ghetto. It's low-income area or undeserved community.
Oh,
Underserved, isn't it? Not undeserved.
I
underserved.
really hope Doug's right.
It is
'cause undeserved. Sounds awful.
I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
I would. They all deserve their ass kicked if that's what they call it. I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
Can you
Sorry,
imagine
Sam.
like a pink hair barista
I was
saying
close,
this
but
to,
not
like
quite
someone
there.
from the ghetto? He's like, no, bitch, it's the ghetto.
Oh man.
coming back to you, Will.
Yay. God.
Miss DeMoss, she isn't fat. What should we call her instead of fat? What's the proper term?
Can I throw some guesses out?
No,
Oh
no,
god.
not your turn. And it's not phone a friend. All right. She's big bodied.
I was gonna say fluffy.
Well, you're wrong, Doug.
Am I right?
Plus size or body positive?
Ooh.
Oof. Yeah, oof is right. Big grown. Oof.
Mm.
That's the noise they make when they get into cars. Ugh.
Wait,
Suing
is-
lift. Ugh.
Wait, so is big boned not considered acceptable? Because I thought that was
It
the
is not a
excuse. I'm not fat.
politically-
I'm big boned.
That may have been what boomers were taught to say on the playground in 1978. However, that is not the modern political term.
I'm actually getting upset playing this game because I'm pissed off. I cannot stoop to this level.
That's part of the challenge. Like I
Like
said,
I'm actually trying. I actually was upset I got that wrong.
but what does a CIA agent of brilliance tell you?
Apparently I'm not
you
it.
got to be able to put yourself in their shoes if you're ever going to truly persuade and make a connection.
All right, that CIA guy definitely would have got the disabled person question wrong. I don't freaking care.
I don't know. He knows Doug, and he's not able, just different. Anyway, again,
Doug, get this question.
we
right.
need to understand
I'm
these
done.
people, and the best way to understand them is to truly address them. So they don't like being called crazy or insane. What do they want to be called, Doug?
I don't know. Oh, we're still
You're terrible
playing.
at
I
this
thought I
damn game.
lost.
All right, go into silence. Silent.
No, wait,
do you have any-
wait. What, give me the question. I thought I was already done. I thought I was out.
Silent, what are your guesses? Any guesses on crazy or insane?
Mentally unwell?
I gotta tell you,
I would have said
I-
unstable.
Unstable.
Mentally.
I was thinking
unstable.
what he said. What he said. I was
What's
like,
funny
no.
is I was on a date with a friend, and I said to this nice lady, we agreed on pretty much all of it till I called them mentally unwell, and she was like, you know, I go to see a therapist and I'm mentally unwell and I take that offensive. I was like, whoa, where did we end? How did we get in this cave?
Well, this isn't about you.
I don't know how to get out of here. Anyway,
Right when she said that, the door's locked, and you're like, oh, okay.
it's don't call me crazy or insane. We'd prefer unusual or misguided.
How is that helping them? How is that helping them?
It's not.
I'm misguided? Are you lost? Like, what is this?
All right, coming back around, Wilbur. God, colonizer. Shoot, I said it backwards. It's supposed to be explorer or pioneer. Can't call them that. They are colonizers.
I would have actually gotten that one, I think.
Honestly, I think I would have gotten that too if you didn't lead with that.
I don't. Here's the problem. Saying the word colonizer triggers in your mind. I've heard them say that shit before. You are not naturally pulling that. That's the point of this whole exercise.
No, that one I might have got because
No,
I've seen that one used before.
Guess what?
And
The
I've
issue
seen that
I've seen a million times. I don't think it's at top of mind. The unfortunate part is we'll never know.
Yeah, now
So,
we'll never know you ruined it.
Going back,
Oh, I know. I want the point.
we don't call it sex assignment or sex reassignment or transition procedures. It's supposed to be called what?
Gender dysmorphia.
No, that's what we call it. They
Shit.
want it to be called gender affirming care.
No, you were too smart, dumbass.
Yeah, I was just saying, you tried to sound smart.
I was like, I got that one, dude. That pissed me off again, dude. I was genuinely like, boom, 2 points. Wrong. Fuck. Son of a
Dude,
bitch.
Brandon Richardson in the comments, man.
I genuinely thought I had that. Oh my god.
All right, Doug. They don't like punitive justice. They prefer restorative justice. I'm skipping that one because I want to give Doug a chance.
I
here.
wouldn't have got that.
Yeah,
I would have been with him.
Here's one I think Doug can get. Marriage is an offensive term that we must stray away for.
Really?
What should we replace it with, Doug?
Oh my God, I know this one too.
Yeah, but I didn't say the word by accident, so you're not going to pull it.
Every question he doesn't answer, he's like, I knew it.
Partner, right? They prefer partners versus.
You
the
know
term
what, Doug?
marriage.
It's a union or a partnership. Doug's got a point.
There you
I was
go.
gonna say civil
There you
union, but
go.
I was like, that's more specific. You know, I feel like than marriage as a whole.
Spouses, that's a good one too. Or what does this one say?
Intermarriage.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next one. This one, get the bird because we're rustling some feathers. Silent, I'm coming to you. Can you give me the term we're supposed to replace abortion with? And I want it to be said that all of these came from official sources. We could run through the entire list, but for the most part, it starts with the Associated Press, and it's and then it goes to the Cambridge English Dictionary, National Alliance and Homelessness. That AP Style book, Chicago Manual of Style, the Guardian's Guide, all these liberal news sources. So these are like official terms. What would be the official replacement for abortion?
Fetus, deletus. No, I'm just kidding.
Holy
I was either going to say that or respawn.
I haven't respawned here. Oh,
Final answer.
I think fetus removal.
fetus deletus. Any other tries, Doug? Anybody?
I don't have.
There's
That's,
no way I
that's
could
the only
think
two I
of
can think of: fetus removal and fetus deletus.
You shouldn't call it abortion. It's reproductive choice or procedure. It's just a procedure. Just taking a shit. All right. The Louis C.K. bit is gold forever. Going to you, Will. They are not terrorists. They're just frequent flyers racking up miles. No. What do we call a terrorist?
What do I call a terrorist?
What should we replace the offensive term terrorist with?
Okay.
Because again, we want to respect the rights and values of terrorists.
So they're still terrorists, but we call them something else. What they
We
want
should,
them to be called.
if you had a heart, if you had any ounce of empathy.
What is George Floyd?
I was gonna say. I was gonna say freedom fighter.
Oh, dude. Doug, please help.
No,
Phone a friend, Doug.
I don't have a good one. Give us the
I
answer.
really-
Wait, this is a word that
You
actually.
could literally say can of soup, and it would be better than what we're floating with right now. You don't have a guess?
Freedom fighter. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
I like that. That's
It's all the eye of the beholder. We are going off the rails. It's extremist, which sounds offensive too, or militant. I like that one. It makes it sound sweet. Militant. They're just doing their job.
Sure. I mean, shit.
Did you try these airplane peanuts? Ah! All right, Doug, coming to you. You shouldn't call them criminals. They should be called what?
The ex-incarcerated.
Insert. Justice involved individual.
That's a mouthful.
Dude, why do they make them
Oh,
so many words though? Why can't it just be one word?
Because they know that's the best way.
That's like this. That's like them being like, we sophisticatedly salt bait on it, and it's like, no, you didn't.
We don't like this word, so we're gonna replace it with
Four more words.
its definition. Like, you don't call me the word, call me the whole definition. Anyway, coming to silent. You know what? I'd like to start wrapping it first. Okay, we're gonna do one more with silent, and then we'll do one last lap. Here's an easy one for you, silent. You shouldn't call them old. You should call them what?
Aged person.
Geriatric.
This one makes more sense. Have a heart. Senior or elder. Now those seem a little bit more
Oh yeah, senior
logical,
citizen,
grounded.
Actually, I can't believe I.
Senior citizen
okay.
is very
Like-
common. That's true.
Some of them I get switching it to liberal terms. I don't view that as like them switching it to a liberal term. I just view them as that, like, if you use the other term, you're just not liberal, so we're going after you. Like, I'd just be like, what? They're not old, they're senior. I'd be like, they're dying. Like, shut up. Like,
They're not young.
like them getting upset about abortion. It's like, I get it. It's your side. Like, you want to, sure. They're not old. They're senior. We're in old person home. I'm not sorry.
And that person is not old and fat. they are plus sized elder.
They keep saying this is their last birthday again.
All right. Let's bring this thing to a close.
Yeah, let's land this plane.
Let's land this plane on some ice. Coming to you.
Okay.
You should never call them prostitutes.
Oh, I got this one.
Have a heart.
I'm trying, but I did have a funny one come to mind.
I got
but they
one.
don't call them that. So they're not prostitutes, they're sex professionals.
Oh, that's actually.
Doug, what was going to be your guess?
I was gonna say lady of the night.
Oh my God.
Did Doug say
you
lizard
are
wad? Be
such a
funnier.
boomer. You are like you are a podcasting 60-year-old man.
They're not vampires, Doug. They're people.
They're not vampires, Doug. I don't know. Silent, do you want to throw a guess out?
Sex
It's not
professional, sex worker.
so
It's sex worker.
Yeah,
So
sex worker,
it gets
yeah.
it just that little bit
I
closer.
gave it a better. I was like, no, they don't work.
They're
They're
professional.
they're better at it than working.
I mean, I'm going to say my thought. All right. Coming to Dougie Fresh, everybody's favorite 60-year-old boomer, Doug.
Yes.
Somebody had given us the suggestion. Our friend Cow here, Kalu Cow, gave us the instead of homeless, they're poor. I mean, I was offended the moment I read it. You can't say poor. Everyone should know that.
Banned from chat.
Banned from. So, not poor. What are they, Doug? Because you can't call them that.
Low income.
Pretty close. They're economically disadvantaged because, you know,
Not disabled.
every time they shoot up this week's income, instead of putting it towards their future, they're disadvantaging themselves economically. But of course, it's the system's fault. Finally, I got one last one. This one, to me, there's more we could go through. This one I thought was the most asinine. Wrapping up on this one. Silent, if you get it, you are a superior mind. Your ability to rethink and conquer another person's perspective is incredible. But that's only if you can conquer this last question.
We really
All right,
on
let's
the
see.
wrong show for this.
Let's see.
All right. Can you give me the proper term replacing the word fetus?
Delete us.
What are you deleting?
Unborn child.
Oh man, that would give way too much credibility to the organic material we're shitting out. That's not a life. I'm just blowing my nose.
That's not what it is. That's not what the
Fetus. You should be replacing with pregnancy tissue or products of conception.
What?
I do that every
Sure
night.
as hell ain't a person.
I do that every night. What are we talking about? I'm with them on that one.
Unreal. Could you imagine living in, like, would it not be exhausting living in this like over policed ideological cult?
That's what I mean. Like when they brought up like old people, they're like, you can't say old. What? What are you talking about?
You're just looking for things to get upset about. And it doesn't exhaust you. Like at some point, it's like, no, you're fat. Fat's fat. And like, again, if you're going to say fat is good, we still should be able to call it fat. Silent and I are wearing red, 2 different colors of red, but we're wearing red.
Still
Like,
red. Yeah.
If you're going to say people should be allowed to be wearing red, we all need to have a congruent and repeatable agreement on what red means. So part of the problem is these language games are creating a need for mental gymnastics that gets us so away from the mark, like addressing the real points but I think that's the intention. The intention is to be unproductive. The intention is to get us lost off the beaten path. However, like the CIA agent indicates, the only way to conquer that problem is to conquer the mind of the mindless. I don't know. What'd you think of the game, Silent? Anything? It's a.
I think it pissed me off.
I mean, it was a lot of fun, but
everybody struggled.
The people that actually use these terms are such a tiny fraction percentage of the population that I don't think any of these phrases are ever going to catch on. Maybe senior citizen. I mean, that's kind of already been a thing for a while, for like at least 2 decades. So other than that, there's not a single one that we said there today that I can think of that I could see like totally being caught on and being used by everyday people.
You know what? And I appreciate that being kind of the closing thought to the whole game. The whole I didn't create this game thinking anybody was going to really thrive. And in fact, it was the intention of showing all of us struggling to show how moronic and idiotic this whole exercise is. Like, we are wasting our time on unproductive things. And I like your point. Hopefully not enough people are adopting it to where it does shock us into becoming a fabric of our society. I think we're getting away from that. Fortunately, we're finally seeing the pendulum shift and the culture change. And we're allowed to have an evening where we laugh at its expense because we know the walls are caving in finally. So
I'm so pissed off about that gender dysmorphia one, though. I was like so convinced I got that. I was you so smugly were like, no logical person. I was so pissed.
So I want to give Silent an opportunity. Silent, tell everybody where they can find you.
Live every single day, kick.com/silentdestroyer. And we're posting on YouTube every day as well, too. Check us out.
Heck yeah. So guys, be sure to check it out with all this new content coming at you every day. Don't miss Silent. He joins us each week. But guys, we appreciate you joining us. We go live every week at 7 p.m. The whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So shout out to Koi. I'm sorry. I know I'm butchering it.
I think it's Kalu.
Yeah. Kalu Cow. And Brad Richardson, cheers to everybody for playing along with us in the games, but also throughout the dialogues, adding a little bit extra perspective. That's the whole purpose of the live shows. We want to get you involved. That being said, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you could do to support this show is hit that like button. That's what pays back to the system, to us, as we're trying to keep the wheels and the gears of this machine going. The best thing you can do is hit that like button. But be sure not to miss what we're doing each week and join us. And the best way to do that is hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so we don't seep through the fat cracks, big gaping holes.
Big body
positive. And we're in the weeds again.
Through the body positive holes.
But guys, we go live each Tuesday. We have new podcasts coming your way. The Rethink Tank podcast comes to you bi-weekly every Thursday. Our biggest episode ever was this past Thursday. I was talking to a sovereign citizen who challenges our conventional way of digesting and observing the legal system. And maybe there's some credible change that'll come from it. So be sure to check out that conversation, as it's just popping off right now. But we also have a really fun conversation coming out next Thursday, which is going to be with one of my gay fraternity brothers that's a staunch Democrat. And he's going to help us kind of parse apart what the Democrat Party needs to do to get back on its feet, and hopefully see some productive change to rectify a dying party. But with that being said, you can find everything new. So Here's Where I'm At episodes. Doug and I have the Sunday reaction show on a totally different channel. All of that comes to you in one central place, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. So if you're looking where you can find all of our content and all the extras, be sure to head over there. But otherwise, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode. Join us next Tuesday. Peace.